Halloween, that special time every October 31st where kids trick or treat and gather more candy than they can likely eat. But outside of kids satisfying their sweet tooth, Halloween is the pinnacle of chasing the thrill of fear. Whether it be scary movies, haunted houses, or creepy costumes, Canadians are constantly seeking out that feeling of fear. But have you ever wondered why exactly we do this to ourselves? Joining us now to help us understand why humans have the desire for fear is Dr. Simon Sherry, clinical psychologist and director of Dalhousie University's Personality Research Team. Dr. Sherry, thank you so much for joining us on Forum Daily.
Happy Halloween. I'm glad to be here.
Given that it is Halloween, we couldn't think of a better guest to get to the bottom of why humans chase the thrill of being scared. So, Dr. Sherry, based on your research, why do humans chase that feeling?
We're a strange species, aren't we? We actually voluntarily seek out scares, especially this time of year. We'll go to that haunted house or watch that scary movie. There are many reasons for that, one of which is scares are like a glue. They bond us together. When you have extreme experiences, it creates an excitement and bonds you to your peers. It takes us outside the hamster wheel of everyday, boring, repetitive life. And that memory is a bond that brings us together.
What specifically are the personality traits that determine whether someone enjoys that thrill?
Not all brains and personalities are the same. For instance, thrill seekers or sensation seekers really enjoy a scare. Their brain idles in a state of understimulation. So they'll seek out thrills. They'll voluntarily go for that scare because they're often bored. So they seek out novelty and stimulation. And around Halloween, that's often a haunted house.
And what about those who avoid that feeling of fear at all costs? And is that trait just as prevalent?
I can certainly empathize with that group. Some people have an exaggerated startle response. They're really reactive to stress. So when frights and scares come around, they don't enjoy those sensations. Psychologically and physiologically, they're overloaded. They like to play it safe this Halloween.
When can chasing that thrill of fear have negative outcomes? Can it be bad for you? What signs show that someone has overexposed themselves to fear?
A 2010 research study tells us that you can scare yourself intensely with a movie, such that after watching a scary movie, the study participants, up to 4 weeks later, were losing sleep, re-experiencing the frightful experiences time and time in their head, almost like a flashback. So be cautious when you sit down to watch that horror movie. It can be with you for weeks to come in the future.
What is the best way for Canadians to know what works for them and what doesn't for fear exposure?
Know who you are and know who your kid is. And with that knowledge of who they are in terms of their character and their disposition, you should have a pretty good sense if your child will be running toward fear with delight or screaming and running from it with longer lasting terror. Most of all, I think we're raising a generation of softies here, and it's probably a good thing to confront some fear this Halloween in a safe environment where you really come in no danger. When you confront fear, you can feel exhilaration. You can also feel a positive sense of mastery, control, and growth over that fear. You don't always want to run from your fears.
And we have to ask, what is your go-to scary movie for Halloween?
I like the classics. The Exorcist is terrifying. And a couple of years ago, I went to a haunted corn maze, which is still cinematic in my mind because it was so terrifying. I was that guy weeks later who was still jittery and on edge.
Thank you so much for your time today. We appreciate you being on the show.
Happy Halloween.